Yo, this is Mr. Glass, and welcome to GlassHouse.
Yes, indeed. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Glass House. And this is for my man, Mr. Glass in the building. Let's give it up for my man. What's happening? What's going on, fellas?
It's good, man.
How you gonna introduce that man's show? That's his show. He's supposed to be the one to do it. See, this is why this is why I had to show up, because I knew it was gonna be some old takeover stuff going on up in here.
Ain't no takeovers. I'm giving Mr.
You
Glass
all over there,
in
the dark and stuff, trying to be AKA Rey Mysterio, whatever. I knew it was. See, Glass, I had your back, bro. That's why I
appreciate that.
That's why.
What's up, Biggie?
All right, so this is what we're gonna do then. I'll redo the intro. Just for you, D-Ray. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is your boy Vic, aka Mr. Glass, and we are here today on the Glass House podcast featuring your boy, Mr. Glass. I got my man D-Ray with me for the kickoff show. I got my man the Veep for the kickoff show. He's gonna be with me for the long haul. Not sure about D-Ray. We'd love to have him, but he's here for this one for sure. All right, so hopefully you guys are gonna enjoy this. What this is you guys are gonna get to ask me whatever you want. And it's gonna have to do with video games, and we're gonna show you guys how I came up as a streamer and a gamer.
No doubt.
See, that's what I'm talking about. Say it with your chest, Glass. Love it.
Yes, indeed. So I am just here to help facilitate. So I control the videos and all of those. Hold on.
Facilitate. Is that what you're gonna do?
Yeah, just like a conspirator. What did he? I don't remember. Anyway,
computer. You said computer. I know what you're trying to say.
Anywho, we're gonna have a wonderful time. So, what we're gonna first start off is the history of Mr. Glass, of his video gaming. So we're gonna enjoy that. You ready for the first one, Mr. Glass?
Let's do it.
All right, let's get it.
Round one, fight! You win.
Ken was putting it on strong, wasn't he?
And that brings back memories, man. I mean, a lot of people have asked me on my stream, what was the first game that I ever played? That was it. That is Street Fighter 2 Turbo. Funny story with that one, and it's kind of the reason why I started gaming in the first place, was I was watching my brother play, and I liked the way the game looked. It looked cool to me. So I was like, hey, man, can I play? First time I ever wanted to play. He's been gaming for years before this. And I'm watching him. He's like, sure, because we got an extra controller. And I grab it. It feels weird in my hand at the time. Because, I got small hands. Y'all may see the fingers, they're long, but the actual hand is small, right? So it feels weird in my hand. And I'm trying to play, and I can't quite get it right. You know what I mean? So he kicks my butt. And long story short, Troy, you know this a lot better than a lot of people, because you know me for a long time. I don't like losing. Losing is not me. So even little Mr. Glass does not like losing. So I had to train up. I was practicing throughout the summer that year. He was all playing basketball and chasing the little girls and stuff like that. I'm out here with the sticks, man, just practicing the whole time. And he came back. School started up. He wanted to play now. And he got his behind whooped. So we got that revenge, and that got me started playing. I like the way that felt, and we kept it moving from there.
Yes, indeed. Tell you, Street Fighter was such an addictive game, man. I mean, God, I think that was truly my first arcade addiction. The amount of money they got from me playing that game, man.
It was crazy because it was a worldwide phenomenon. Street Fighter. Nothing had ever, at least in the fighting game genre, nothing had ever hit quite like that. And when it hit, it was huge.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, I actually wanted to interject one thing. This happens to be fortuitous timing because Street Fighter 6 was just announced. So,
really,
as crazy as that sounds, the very first game that got me into it, the next installment, was just announced yesterday, the day before the podcast. So that's pretty crazy.
No, that's cool.
Yeah.
Even cooler, today is 2/22/22.
That's crazy.
So what better time for the GlassHouse to get going? Okay,
Right.
let's go ahead and jump to the next game from here.
Ready.
Now, the story with Killer Instinct for me, which is probably one of the funnier stories that I've ever had involving gaming, to be honest with you, is my brother. He is, as I told you guys, he was a gamer too. Still is. But back then, he was bringing home some of his friends from school. And, you know, they would meet me and they would, oh, look at the little guy, man. Yeah, that guy's nice. You know, he's a nice guy. What my brother would do is he would tell me in advance to not play hard, right? When I played them, they'd play me, they would beat me, and we'd have a laugh and all that. And then about 20 minutes later, they would come back and they would say they wanted to play again. Now, I didn't know this at the time. I was only told this later in life. But what my brother would do was see how small little bit amount of money. Hey, I bet you my brother can beat you if you played him again. And so I would play him, and this time my brother would lean right next to me. Hey man, yeah, go ahead and whoop him. Go ahead and whoop him this time. And so I grab, okay, fine. Bye, 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 and it's over. Ultra, you know what I mean? If y'all know Killer Instinct, y'all know what that was about. And that would be it. And then all of a sudden they'd be looking real sad. And my brother would be laughing, and I would be laughing because my brother was laughing, and that's how it went. And I found out later that he was betting on the damn game, which was hilarious.
That is funny. Oh man, using you like that—that's messed up. Hey, Dero, you got any interjection on Killer Instinct?
So, I guess this is a really overarching question. Did you find that playing video games offered you the allure of escapism at an early age, where it was, you know, it seemed possible for you to create your own world, and not necessarily, even if you couldn't create your own world, it seemed like the odds and the playing field was a little more equal.
Absolutely.
You know, because it came down to not necessarily physical abilities, but it also came down to what you knew and how you played. So Absolutely. Can you talk about that?
So what happens, and I talked about this a couple of months back on Twitter, actually, and one of the things I said was that, you know, it's like being disabled, right, is like being a lion in the jungle. But instead of being in the jungle, you're in a cage in a zoo. And you're still a lion. Everything you see, everything you want to do, you're supposed to be able to roar and supposed to be able to let loose and do all the things you can do, but you can't because you're in a cage. But when I play video games, when I got these controllers in my hand, it's like I'm in the jungle again, and I can really let it go. And like you say, the playing field is wide open and anybody can win. And as long as you put in the time and effort and hone your skills, then that's your advantage. And that, like you said, it was kind of an escapism when I was young. And that's what I did. I couldn't play basketball with my brother. I couldn't do a lot of the things that a lot of kids my age wanted to do. So I picked up video game, and that was my hobby for pretty much most of my life.
And Junior's in the building.
What's good, Junior?
Is in the building.
So let me ask you this, Mr. Glass, if you happen to know this one. Killer Instincts right off the bat was a Mortal Kombat knockoff.
Yeah.
Did they ever get any get sued or criticism?
No, because what happens when you're dealing with intellectual properties like that is if you change about a little bit, you're fine. And at the time, actually, Killer Instinct was way more technically advanced than Mortal Kombat was. Because if you remember, back in those days, Mortal Kombat didn't even have combos.
Correct.
You just punch people, uppercutted, hit a kick, did your little flashy freeze moves or your spears or whatever it was that you had, whatever your character could do. That's Mortal Kombat at that time. This game offered combos, special moves, lots of things that Mortal Kombat didn't have. Killer Instinct, was just more technically advanced. So if anything, people would probably back then at that time would have said that Mortal Kombat was a knockoff of Killer Instinct, which is crazy.
Go figure. Because didn't Mortal Kombat did come first, then Killer Instinct with the air combos and all that. And
it's Mortal Kombat started, I think, maybe a year potentially before Killer Instinct did, because that was a launch game, I think, on the Sega Dreamcast, if I'm not mistaken, right? Mortal Kombat. And so, both the Super Nintendo and the Sega Genesis were each other's rival, and that's kind of how that went. They were just a different take on the same genre, really.
Gotcha. All right, well, we got a whole bunch more games to go through, so let's go ahead and keep it moving. Let's check it out.
Fight! 1, ready, go!
I used to hate that game. And I'm gonna tell you why I used to hate that game. Because you spend time trying to learn your moves, and it always be this little snotty-nosed little kid that would always hit X, 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 and be that little low kick, and then the next thing you know, he done beat you. And now by the time this game came out, I'm good and grown. So now I'm contemplating whether or not I'm gonna do something to this little kid because he just kept hitting X, 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 X. Anyway. All right.
He had that button mashing on fleek, boy.
Right, and then give you the broke controller, and then he got the new controller that's got the auto hit or whatever, so he can just man, come on.
Well, that was it's funny you say that. That was introduced with Street Fighter 2 Turbo, the turbo controllers, where you could just press a button and all kinds of stuff would happen, and that was one of the staple points of Street Fighter 2 Turbo. But so for Virtua Fighter. So Virtua Fighter was like the first game I played on the Sega Saturn. The Sega Saturn was a cool system, kind of running a lot of similar, unique things that would be kind of like the predecessor to the Dreamcast. And the Dreamcast is something that we'll talk about later, but we all love the Dreamcast for various reasons.
Yes.
But Virtua Fighter was the first game that I played that really utilized 3D environments. And a lot of people that saw me start streaming on Mixer and some of my YouTube videos, 3D fighters was kind of my thing for a long time. And that's the first game that actually had that in it that I played. It was pretty cool. I really enjoyed Virtua Fighter. I played Wolf. I still play Wolf anytime Virtua Fighter is mentioned to me. And that's what it is with Virtual Fighter, man.
Yeah, Virtual Fighter was legit. At that time, that was kind of mind blowing because it had the whole 3D look and everything.
Yeah.
And most games were all 2D. So Virtual Fighter was definitely one of those pillars.
So if you guys are noticing something too, I was pretty much a fighting game guy at this time. I didn't even play too much Mario. I didn't play too much of anything. Fighting games was my thing. I don't know what that says about me, but at that time, that's what I was into.
What it says about you, Glass, is you just like Wu-Tang. You ain't nothing to with. That's what it says, Glass.
And yeah, man. I gravitated towards all that stuff at that point. But you guys are gonna see here as we go on through this little discography of my gaming career, it starts to change from I think at this moment.
Yes, indeed. All right, my man. Let's keep it going. We got some. We'll talk about it after this one.
The offense certainly looks happy with that play. The special teams has done some of their job for them.
I'm seeing high fives all around as the offense takes the field, Dan. They know how important a good special teams unit is.
And now it's their turn to make something of it. First and 10. Davis dragging tacklers. He gets a couple and then gets killed. Tackled by Haley. A gain of 1 on the play. Ball on the 49. In right, Brister flips it out. Davis carrying defenders. He's going to feel that tomorrow for sure, Peter.
Bubby freaking Brister.
I was just gonna say that too. Who remembers that guy?
Every Steeler fan alive remembers that guy.
So as you guys see, that was the last time where Fighters was my only game. I started watching people play NFL 2K, and I loved it. I was like, wow, this is like, this kind of coincides with the fact that I started getting way more interested in football games as watching it on TV and stuff like that. Started understanding the players. I even brought this up on the podcast a couple weeks ago, but one of my close family relatives and all that, they were a part of the Denver Broncos. So that was a very interesting point of me learning football.
Now, the one thing that I would say, which would, in some people's minds, be controversial, NFL 2K series was way better than Madden, hands down.
Flag.
You can flag yourself.
Flag.
This ain't that show.
Flag. Oh, I'm on the wrong show.
Madden,
Right.
game-wise, could not beat NFL 2K because the NFL 2K5, I believe that's what TO, that they sold that game for $19. I'm sorry, Madden got buried off of a $20 game. If Madden didn't get that license to exclusively have the games, NFL 2K ran it. I'm telling you, that was the best game.
Okay, so here's where you're wrong. Number one, the only thing that comes close to Madden is Tecmo Bowl. And apparently, both of you are too young to remember Tecmo Bowl. But I remember being on the campus of Winston-Salem State University, fall of 1990, and having to duck when people fought if you got Bo Jackson. Because he couldn't be stopped. Or if you got the Giants. And they had this little trick play.
What's his name? Was it Kevin Mack?
I forget what it was. But
funny story about Tecmo Bowl. Funny story about Tecmo Bowl. I didn't have it, but my cousin did. And so when I would go over to his house, this was probably 93, I would say. I went to his house in 93 and I first saw Tecmo Bowl and I was like, wow, this is really cool. And what he didn't tell me was what you just said. Bo Jackson is unstoppable. So this man had Bo Jackson and I'm sitting there like, how come I can't How come he won't go down? Isn't he supposed to go down right now? No, man. He really don't go down like that. You just got to get better. What? Like, what you mean? I got to get better? I'm trying to tackle this dude for like 30 minutes. Can't get it done. He murdered me in this game, dude. I have never got beat by anybody in any game that bad. Bo Jackson.
And see, and if you were loyal, you always played with your team. But the problem was, during that time, Pittsburgh Steelers were traditionally sorry. So from like the time Terry Bradshaw retired up until the time Pittsburgh signed Neil O'Donnell, it was a bad time to be a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, and that translated into video games, right? So,
well, you guys had Cordell too, though.
No, we didn't get Cordell till like the mid '90s. So like '93.
I thought he was before Newton O'Donnell.
No,
he wasn't.
No.
Oh man, I was like 5 years old. Never mind.
Willie Gout.
Facts.
Yeah, man, Willie was crazy.
Facts.
So fast.
Tecmo Bowl was the only game that the quarterback can go east and the receiver could go west and literally end zone to end zone pass touchdown.
And seeing that's what would start the fights. You did that on somebody, and like, and don't let it be some money on the line. You did that to somebody in the dome room. Mm-hmm.
Oh, but hold up. What about when there was a punt return and Devin Hester picked it up?
Oh yeah.
That dude was nuts. That was a fun. See, those were fun games. Those were amazingly fun games. All right, listen, guys.
Man, wow. I didn't even think about it until you said that.
Before we go into more, I'm actually going to play the Blast artist for the night. It is once again, it's going to be Jsaw. That's crazy. And you can always check all Blast artists on blastmusic247.com. As a fan, you can sign up for free to listen to all the music you want. And as an artist, if you're interested to get more exposure, go to blastmusic247.com, sign up for free, and let's see where we can take you. And this is Jsaw. That's crazy.
It's your boy, Jsaw. Oh, you late on your rent? Damn, that's crazy. Repo looking for your whip? Damn, that's crazy. Oh, he left you stranded? Damn, that's crazy. Oh, he thought I was gonna help you out? Girl, you crazy. You waiting for Captain Saver, but this Captain ain't gon' save ya. I'm done doing them favor. 2-finger deuces to the whole haters. They acting like they tryna help ya, but they really wanna hurt ya. Then they wonder why they getting vaccinated, something like Moderna. Harlem shaking Tina Turner, when you feel it in your sternum. No, I'm not a professor, but today I'm gonna learn ya. Yeah, somebody should've warned ya. I've been through the rough, and enough is enough. Coming out of these cuffs, done with the gangs, baby. When I step in the room, make way. Not trying to hear what you say, yeah. Push it with the coffee, smoke, hey. I keep it on me. Sometimes feel like a zombie. Even then, get nothing from me. You better ask daddy or mommy. Can't help ya. Quick talk behind my back. Damn near give you the shirt off my back. Once you got what you want from me, then you're back to the wise crack. I should've gave you a few smacks. Luckily, I wasn't raised like that. Mind sharp as a tack, but it's hard to keep it intact. If I go bananas, I'ma leave you split like chap lips on a Sunday. Not trying to go that way, but you're making it a one-way with cones on both sides. Got me headed straight like a runway. Taking off like a jet on the runway with the beast inside like, ooh, a fun day. Hasn't eaten a while and he's feeling a little hungry, so don't ask me for favors on Monday. Oh, you late on your rent? Damn, that's crazy. Repo looking for your whip? Damn, that's crazy. Oh, he left you stranded? Damn, that's crazy. Oh, he thought I was gonna help you out? Girl, you crazy. She be like, he's so sweet, but I'm far from a sucker. And when I'm ballin' like the rucker, still laughing at you, Chris Tucker. Deserve money cause I fucked you? Hold up, wait a minute. What is up with the gimmicks? You need to know your limit. Pick you up when I'm in it. Pie with the spinach. I eat it up, it's delicious. Have you wanna be the missus? Is it squeaky clean like the dishes? If not, babe, I dismiss ya. I can have school but get on, still not swimming with fishes. You can have all that ass with no brain, baby, I pass. You could be stack with no class, baby, I pass. And that's on me, personality or everything. can't be dealing with a Burberry. Go past me fast like a hurricane. Don't hurt 'em, man. Talk this the shit that they need to hear and to implement in their life. If they trying to get in my life, baby girl, you got to come right. With more than what's between them thighs. I can see what's real in your eyes, and all I see is dollar signs. Baby girl, you gotta get your mind right. Looking for a teammate, not hit with the switchbait. That shit frustrates when they think I'm Microsoft like Bill Gates. That's why I keep a fence around like a Bill Gates. To keep away from the ones that wanna take, giving up souls to money and who pays. That there alone tells you real or fake. If you with that there, head up by way. Oh, you late on your rent? Damn, that's crazy. Repo looking for your whip? Damn, that's crazy. Oh, he left you stranded? Damn, that's crazy. Oh, he thought I was gonna help you out? Girl, you crazy.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's our boy Jay Saw. I'm telling you.
That track is hot.
Fight.
Indeed.
Now, how many of us have had to tell a woman, girl, you crazy? Anyway, so I see in the comment section, some of you guys are asking what this podcast is about. This is a gaming podcast. And also, it's going to be like an interview show. I'm the first person that's going to be interviewed on this show. I will be having, hopefully, other people come in, other streamers that you guys may or may not know. They're going to get on and we're going to talk about their story involving gaming and whatever else that they want to talk about as they come on here. And that's what we're going to do. Now, you guys in the audience can ask me any questions that you may have, and I'll answer them while we're on this show as well.
Yes, indeed. So we still have a lot of video games to show the history of Glass transitioning through video games. So now
don't say Glass transitioning. Just don't like that. Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, don't do that.
Go on to the next clip.
Okay.
Look, that is a classic.
It definitely is. And I'm going to tell you guys probably the most traumatizing thing for a young Mr. Glass involved in that game. I don't know if you guys remember the scene where Sephiroth breaks the glass and comes down and slices Aerith in half, basically, and she's done. That, I had never seen anything in video games like that at that time. So that was like, and okay, so my brother had played every Final Fantasy up until that point. I didn't like Final Fantasy. I thought it was trash. And then I saw that, and I was like, wait a minute, we're going to have to see what's going on with this.
You know, I feel like before Final Fantasy, I mean, this is just me, I liked video games before Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy 7 made me a gamer.
Yeah.
Like literally, like I remember going to buy the big thick book that had all of the stuff in it because there was no way that you could figure out that and boys and girls, this was before YouTube. This was before, you know, social media or whatever. You had to figure these games out on your own, or you had some friends that might, you know, that might have known where to go or whatever. And I remember having to do research and staying up. I probably didn't get a degree at my second college because I stayed up all night playing this game. Right? You know,
remember Knights of the Round? You remember getting that for the first time?
Exactly. No, I'm gonna tell you. What was it? What's the one? I think it's called Bahamut Zero.
Oh, Bahamut. Yeah.
Bahamut. Yeah, man. As soon as I got that one, I thought I was unstoppable.
And you was at that time, man.
I remember at that. Go ahead.
So one of the things, the audience has asked me a couple questions.
Yes,
one,
sir.
what made me bald? I have no idea, actually, to be honest with you. Like one day, I just woke up and like when we cut my hair, like the couple weeks before, I noticed like, damn, my hair ain't growing back, like no more. Like what's going on with?
I know what made him bald. 2 words. Tom Brady. For more information,
and you know what's funny? It was right around the time.
Yeah,
Tom
for
Brady
more
started playing
information,
football.
watch Rats. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Here's the next one.
The other question is, which Pac-Man was my favorite? Now, this is a weird one for me because the answer to this question is actually Miss Pac-Man because that's the one I actually played the most. I didn't play a lot of the other Pac-Mans, but Miss Pac-Man, I played the heck out of that for some reason, so I'm gonna have to go with that.
Here's another one for Big Lows. Do you feel some video games are too violent for kids and some adults?
Okay, so that's a very interesting question and one that I'll answer like this. I think some video games are too violent for children that are under 10 years old because your brain doesn't get a chance to really understand what violence is.
Evening, Miss
right?
B.
But if your parents teach you about that kind of thing and you understand that it's only a video game, any kid that's in their teens should be fine with any video game that there is because it's clearly not real. You know what I mean? So when they start making virtual reality though, and they start making violent things happen in virtual reality and it looks real, like you can't tell it from fiction, I think that's going to be a real big problem.
Exactly.
You know, I always thought about, well, you know, in the 40s and the 50s, how many times did Wile E. Coyote blow himself up trying to catch the Roadrunner? How many buckshot did Elmer Fudd catch in the face when Bugs Bunny took his gun and shot him with it?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And we weren't really thinking about that because we had more of a family structure during that time. But as time has gone on, you know, and there's less and less parental oversight, then we have to start looking at what kind of content are young people actually taking and are they trying to live it, you know? So
that's true.
I think that's absolute fact, D-Ray. I mean, you know, when you have a strong family structure, you got everybody in the house and, you know, they're taking care of each other and doing all this other stuff. That helps you understand what all this stuff is so you can compartmentalize where it needs to go. And this stuff isn't real. This stuff is, you know, fiction. This stuff is fact, you know, and that all goes in to the pot.
Indeed. One thing I wanted to add to the Final Fantasy VII is when I first got my PS1, you know, I was totally new to everything, and I bought a game that said Final Fantasy on it, and I thought it was Final Fantasy VII. It was actually Final Fantasy Tactics. That was an amazing game. I loved it. It was a lot of fun.
I played that on PC actually.
But
you know, I feel like such an old man because when Final Fantasy VII came out, I was working at Electronics Boutique. And for those of you who don't know,
they don't exist.
Right. For those of you who don't know, that was the predecessor of GameStop. So,
facts.
Yeah.
Man, Z-Ray was the plug, bro. You go to him when you need a new game. You know, he gets you a couple. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, man, those were the days, buddy.
He was our video game pusher. What are you going to give me for this?
Y'all think I got this big, just, you know, whatever? It's like, nah, go give me a cookie from the food court. I got you.
That's fantastic.
All right,
All right, so again, I see a few new people in here. Make sure you guys are asking questions. If you wanted to know anything about what I started gaming on, anything involving gaming, or just me in general, this is the time where you ask.
Who remembers when the first game came out to be $59.99? Oh, that hurt.
Yes.
Oh, that hurt.
Well, if you
because you know what,
if you remember it, Final Fantasy VII, because it was like 3 discs, I want to say it was like close to $30 or $40 when it first came out.
It was.
I could believe it.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, not going too far. At that time when NFL 2K was selling for $19.99, I want to say Madden was selling for twice that amount.
Yep.
And people were like, $20 for a football game? Let's get it.
You know what it did?
NFL licensing.
It was incredibly smart by 2K to sell their game cheaper because it made more people want to try it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? People were like,
and
you know
that
what?
was one of their best sellers.
Yeah, you know what? This game is way cheaper than Madden. Let's try it and see if we like it. I remember that's what got me into it because my dad was like, well, I mean, you played Madden. Why don't you try this one? It's cheaper anyway. And we loved it.
And the game was dope. It was fast gameplay. Anywho, I digress. On to the next. I'm telling you, I lost about probably 10 years of my life for that freaking game.
But you know what? And I'm going to explain this one, and I think everybody's going to understand when I explain this. Sometimes when you meet a woman, that woman can convince you to do any damn thing she wants you to do. And Troy, you knew her as well. This was Lily. She introduced me to Final Fantasy 11, and I played it for literally 10 years. And I had everything in that game. A lot of you guys probably from my stream and things like that have heard me mention the days that I used to play that game on. My character was just a little more powerful than that one that you guys saw in that video, but that's where we all started in that game, was swinging away against some enemy for about 3 minutes of our lives trying to figure out how to kill it. And but that was my first introduction to MMOs. I'd never played them, never even heard of them up until that particular game right there. And I found out I loved it. Once you get to the end game and you figure out everything there is to know about it, that genre spoke to me probably more than any other genre other than fighting games. I loved it.
You know, one thing that I need to point out, that I guess starting with Final Fantasy VII and going through, you started seeing the thing that I started paying attention to because of my chosen profession were the soundtracks, right? The soundtracks and the Japanese composers started becoming more and more dope. These soundtracks were like movie level for video games. Right. And you know, I started really paying attention to that. It's like, wow, you know, that sounds great. And it always got me curious as to how they would do that. You know how they would, score a video game such as that, and so that's kind of a watershed moment for me.
You know what's funny about what you just said there, D-Ray? I wish I would have brought this up when we were looking at Killer Instinct. I don't know if you remember that game and remember the opening sound, like the opening play of Killer Instinct, the very first song you heard when you booted that game up. People think that that's one of the greatest soundtracks in any game ever. Killer Instinct 1. There was so many of the fighters stages that had beats that were just out of this world at that time. Nobody had ever heard anything like that from a video game. And so games that were like that, like you say, from a audiophile type mentality, you get to look at it and go, wow, like these guys really put that work into these games like that. And it's interesting how they did it.
Indeed.
Fact.
We still got some more to go, so let's keep it going.
Get ready, fight! Get ready, fight!
That was my game right there. I think
Can you imagine getting kicked in the face with either cowboy boots or platform shoes?
Ooh,
Man,
vicious.
now, Vic, that wasn't the time we met, but that was one of the games around the time we had met.
I mean, that was probably the game that you and I put the most time into.
Oh, most definitely.
Outside of, I think, what's coming up next. You know, you don't count that game, and DOA 4 was it. I mean, one of the biggest things about DOA 4 was anybody who's ever played an MMO understands eventually you got to take a break from the MMO because it's going to drive you nuts if you keep playing it forever, right?
You dang right.
And when I was like that with Final Fantasy, I went to DOA 4. It was, at the time, as far as 3D fighters was concerned, never been done before, ever. Like, that was the pinnacle of 3D fighters at that time because, one, dude, there was a freaking TV in the lobby that you could stand your virtual avatar in and watch the fight that was going on without actually being in the screen to watch the fight.
I remember that.
Literal avatars that you would buy from this little store that you earned with the in-game money. And you could have different avatars in that lobby while you were watching the fights. And you could talk crap about the fight while it was going on. It was unbelievable at that time. I mean,
they were ahead of the game.
And by the way, whoever was playing Tina on that, nah, you ain't better than me, dog.
You already know, Vic.
I had to tell you real quick. I was one of the actual, for real, I was one of the best players in the world at that game. I played a lot of the people who went to the tournaments, and I beat them. And I beat them handily a lot. So most people that know me from gaming probably know me from that game, period.
So, Vic, Damien asks, have you ever played Shadow of the Colossus?
Shadow of the Colossus. I think I played the original one. I don't think I played any of the other ones, but I played the original one. I didn't play it too much, so I don't really have too great of a recollection of it. I think that was another one that my cousin had that I, when I went to his house, I messed with for a little while. and that was it. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
That was all she wrote for Shadow of the Colossus. I should, if I ever get the PlayStation 5, I'll grab the new Shadow of the Colossus and mess with it.
I have a honorable mention. I think that we may have overlooked Ninja Gaiden.
Oh yeah,
Facts.
yeah.
That, oh my gosh, when they redone it on the, what was the Xbox?
Yep.
Vic. Oh my gosh, that game was addictive.
It was so fire, bro. Like we never seen any adventure game like that.
The graphics were just phenomenal. Oh man, so many hours.
Yeah. I mean,
Gone.
mastering all the weapons and getting all, you know what I mean? Like it was a phenomenal gaming experience at that time.
Facts. Yeah. Amid, are you talking about Ninja Gaiden?
What are y'all's favorite games? Everybody that's watching in the audience, tell me what your favorite game was, and I'll tell you if I have any memories of playing that game, and maybe I have a funny story that goes along with that game. Because what's funny for me is when it comes to gaming, there's a lot of stories in my life that happen to have a gaming soundtrack to them. You know what I mean? So it's
Facts.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Right.
Facts. All right. Yeah, Amid was talking about Ninja Gaiden. He loved that game. I agree,
Great
man.
game.
That was one of the best. All right, let's keep it moving. We still got a lot more to go.
Don't mind if I do.
Good old Gears of War.
Like you say, Crypto, iconic. I mean, that game, you know, it represented kind of like my first foray into shooters. As you guys noticed, there was never any shooters on that list that I had mentioned with the games that I played a lot of. Gears of War broke that trend in a big way. I probably put more hours into that game than most of the other games combined that you see on that list. And the reason is because I had a group of friends that we would get home from high school and we would jump on Gears immediately. That's just what we did. And it was a whole lot of fun, man.
There are two shooter games that are in my memory that are just like that. It takes me back to when I played them. The first one was Doom, and I had a college roommate that had Doom, you know, because I was too broke to have a PC at that point. And I remember playing it. I was like, oh, I like this. And so like over the summer, I bought a PC, and I guess this was like the summer of '96 or whatever. And the very first shooter game that I bought was Duke Nukem.
Oh, yeah.
And
classic.
Yeah. And there's a scene at the end where he says, it's time to kick butt and chew bubble gum, and I'm all out of gum.
Yeah.
You know, that was like the statement of all statements. So yeah.
My statement he would say is let God sort them out.
Let God sort them out.
I've heard you say that before, it's right. That's
where I took it from. Duke Nukem for the PC was amazing. Do you remember the knockoff that the spinoff they did? Dang it. It was a Kung Fu one. And the line he would be, who wants some wang? And I forgot the name of that.
Yeah, I vaguely remember that. Yeah.
But it's the same people that made it. And
Wow.
my boy loved it, man, back in the days.
That's crazy.
Yeah, we over here reminiscing on video games. Anyway, all right, we're going to keep it moving. We got more addictions to get over. good old World of Warcraft.
Man,
Who hasn't had a hit?
oh man. Let me tell you. And at Glass, let me just say, the first time I played WoW was 2006, right? So it's been out a long time, and it's still going. There's no signs of stopping.
Strong,
right? Going strong. I remember it was one of the first video games where I literally said to myself, "If I don't take a break, I may die." You know, like, because literally I could play that game for 24 hours straight.
Yeah.
And just sort of pass out and then wake back up and still play it.
Yeah.
I had a mage named 80s, and just learning all that stuff. So, but I do have a question once you talk about it a little bit. I have a question for you about WoW.
Okay. So WoW kind of came to me, same thing with Final Fantasy 11. Lily was like, "Hey, I used to play this other MMO before I started playing Final Fantasy. You want to come play that with me?" You know, the funny story with this is, though, and Troy, you're going to laugh at this. So she asked me to come play WoW. At the time, did not have WoW. And I don't know if you guys remember, but World of Warcraft at the time was quite the investment. You had to buy the base game. You had to buy all the expansions. At this point, this was when ICC first came out. So the Wrath of the Lich King was the major expansion that was. So I had to buy Burning Crusade and the other one, I forget the name of the other one, but Burning Crusade and one other, plus the Lich King. So that was $150. And on top of that, I had to buy a controller and then reconfigure the game to work with a controller. So we're talking a $200+ investment that I made to come hang out with this woman in this game. And my goodness, would you not know that 2 weeks after I started, she's like, "Yeah, why don't we go back to play Final Fantasy? I don't really like this."
Wow.
Now we would come back to it, but boy,
I got so addicted that I literally would find a way to what was the Booty Bay down at the very south. I would purposely I would treat my tune like it was a pet. You know, I'm gonna feed him, I'm gonna get him drunk, and I'm gonna make him go to sleep right here so he'll wake up right beside. Yeah. So yeah, that was crazy. But I do have a question though. And this is for you and for anybody else that's had to deal with this. When you're playing games and you have multiplayers and you have people from all over the world, you have culture clashes, you have social clashes. How do you deal with people who may be racist, may be sexist, may be, just insensitive? How do you deal with that when people try to bring real world problems into the virtual world?
Well, one of the things that I like to do, and Troy, I was always the leader when we did all this stuff with all the guilds and everything like that. And those things would come up. And one of the quickest things I would deal with was like, "Hey, if you want to be a part of what we have going on, you're going to have to play the game and not talk about any of this other stuff, because I don't want there to be disagreements within the group just because you have a personal opinion that has nothing to do with this game. If you want to stay and play this game and be one of the crew, you can do that, but all of that other stuff got to go by the wayside." And there was actually one guy that I remember I played, I can't remember what game it was. It was a long, long time ago, back when multiplayer had first started. And he was talking to me about a bunch of stuff, and he called me the N-word. And that was the very first time anyone had ever said that to me. And I remember thinking wow, that's crazy. Because my brother had said something about when somebody called him that years before, but this was my first run. So I was like, damn, over a video game? Because I beat you in a video game, you're going to break out the N-word on me like that. Okay. But that was this funny story. That was my first time ever being called that, which is crazy.
Wow. To go back a little bit, it's funny how Lily dragged you from cocaine to crack rock. One
That girl,
addition to
yeah,
another.
Man,
man.
look, that was not crack. That was meth.
Yes, it was bad.
Wow is meth.
When we went back to WoW, and this is when I got Troy to come over to Black Dragonflight after we came back. We met Emily, who was another lady that I'm still in contact with today. And we played WoW for years, right? Like 2-3 years.
Mm-hmm.
We need to do we need to do a blast guild. A blast music 247 guild.
There's so many platforms to play right now. We just have to find one we mutually agree on.
I mean, if WoW ever gets true controller support, I wouldn't mind going back to WoW.
Bet. That's fair.
Fair enough. All right, we'll talk about that. We'll still got a lot more to go.
You could have just said that was a bad idea, Troy. I appreciate you. Not wanting to hurt my feelings.
On that one, I feel like.
Yeah, you know what I mean. It's all right. It's okay.
He's like, I don't think.
On to the next clip. Here we go.
The tip, it's Boston. Brown outside. Kicks it to Tatum. Five to shoot. The shot, no good. And the Lakers going the other way now. To the middle and taken away by Brown. Now the fast break. Tatum with the ball. Here's Walker. Lays it up off the glass. Walker's got the opening bucket of the night here for the Celtics.
Good read from Tatum that time. Saw the defense had overcommitted and then made them pay with the sweet dime. Well done.
Kuzma outside. Over Tatum. Kuzma can't get it to go. And so it's Walker with it.
The realism of these games, especially the NBA, it looks
that
so
had to
real.
be 2K21, right? Or 2K20.
Hey, Troy, there are a lot of things on planet Earth that I don't mind doing, that I'm not afraid to do. But as Clint Eastwood once said, a man has to know his limitations. And after watching Mr. Glass on his Twitch channel, I would never, and I mean ever, play any NBA live with Mr. Glass. Because I invite anybody that's in, what are we calling your comment section? I almost said the rats did.
The GlassHouse.
The glass citizens, whatever you want to call them. I invite all of y'all to when next time you're on Twitch and you see Mr. Glass, watch how he plays with these kids. Watch how he plays with them. It's like it's intimidating. So yeah.
Well, so 2K, man. I know a lot of you guys that watch me, if you guys are in the chat here, you know me from 2K. I mean, this is one of the first things that I started streaming. I played For Honor first, but that was really the main game that I streamed for a while was For Honor. But before that, I tried streaming 2K20. And that was my first game that I ever streamed, ever. One time. So, it was interesting. It started off what I do now. And it's something that I think everyone can do. Everybody in here can play NBA 2K. The problem is being able to play it at a level that you won't get frustrated playing other people, because it's hard when you start playing against people who know what they're doing. And like you say, D-Ray, when the kids are playing, I treat them just like I would assume that a coach would treat them. You know what I mean? If you're not doing what you're supposed to do,
you're a virtual Juwan Howard.
Oh boy.
That's tough.
That is tough.
So I mean, it's true though. I mean, like a lot of these kids, they may or may not be involved in sports as it is, like already. So if they are, or if they're going to be, I want them to know what that environment is like. So I figure if I give them what I know a coach is going to do, if I expect accountability and all of the other things like that, that I know a team is going to need from them, then when they make that transition to playing real basketball, it's going to be that much smoother. And so that's how I approach it.
Fair enough. Unfortunately, we made it to the last video clip, so let's check it out.
You got your own seat.
Making sure he stay down. Good
Got
grief.
to. In that game, you got to. So, For Honor, I don't think everybody here knows, but that was the main game that I streamed back when I was on Mixer. And I streamed that for almost a full year. And then Mixer got shut down shortly after that. But that's what got me really started as a streamer, and I had some success on the game. And it was huge for me, man. It was like one of the biggest things that I've ever done because it showed me that I could be successful streaming to people. And so that catapulted me into trying to do more and be more with all this stuff.
Indeed, indeed.
So before because I know we're at our time limit here, but before we go, if anybody has any questions that they want me to answer, you got about 2-3 minutes to get them down, and I'll answer them real fast.
You know, I've been thinking about what my actual favorite game, and it's fun. It's hard to really answer that because each game that I play is a period in my life. You know what I mean? That is just like, wow. That like I remember playing on Super Nintendo, and that takes me back to like high school, or or I remember playing Final Fantasy that takes me back to University of North Carolina at Charlotte. So I think if I had to if I really had to venture a guess or just venture an answer, I would probably say XCOM. I was a huge XCOM fan. I've played them all because I love the strategy. I love the sci-fi. I love the fact that, you know, if your strategy is weak, similar to chess, if your strategy is weak, you can go into a situation and get your whole team wiped out, and now you got to start over. So I love games like that. So
that's interesting.
I have another honorable mention for you. Punch Out, the whole Punch Out series. I was such a fan.
Yeah, I mean, wow. All right, so Punch Out. That was a game that I watched my brother play back when it was Kid Dynamite. And, I watched him play it and I was interested in it. But that was a game that you could get everything you needed to get to me by just watching somebody play it. You didn't need to actually throw the punches yourself. And I never really played Punch Out till I got to the Super Nintendo. But that original Mike Tyson Punch Out was something serious to watch, man. It was
man.
Facts.
I remember the amount of frustrations of getting beat down because Tyson was just invincible.
I mean,
oh man,
that start. You know, I gotta bring this up after you mention that. That kind of helped to create that aura around Mike Tyson. A lot of people remember back when Mike Tyson was doing his thing. Nobody, as sports figures anyway, had done video games before. Mike Tyson was pretty much the first one, and he did it in such a way that it helped to enhance what he already was as a dominant sports figure. And there's so many people that played that game. Don, there's people who never heard of Mike Tyson outside of that video game. As crazy as that sounds.
Wow.
So that's the kind of impact that video games can have on culture, and it helped to make him what he was again. You know?
Agreed. That's true.
Did you play Killer Instinct when it launched? Yes. There was kids with Joy-Cons destroying everyone. Yeah, man. Killer Instinct back when I played it on the Super Nintendo. I played it the day it came out because me and my brother, after playing 200 million rounds of Street Fighter, he thought that maybe I would like another fighting game, and that's the one we had picked. So we were waiting on that one to come out.
Indeed. So, everyone, I know this is kind of rushed. Let me go ahead and give their love. Yep, sorry, you had it. Listen, we're actually going to move the starting time for the GlassHouse to 8 p.m. 7 Central Time next week, and that will be the confirmed time that we're going to stick with. That's going to work well for us as well as for Mr. Glass's timing, and we'll do our best to make sure we give you plenty of time to share, ask questions, but most of all, we appreciate you guys coming out at this time to give my man some of his love. And listen, this is a gamers forum. If you're a gamer and you feel comfortable enough to come on here and talk with us, we have a seat that we're allowing you to come in here and be interviewed and all that. So you can reach Mr. Glass or even either one of us if you know how to reach us. I can
don't contact me. I don't have no power here. I'm just here so that I don't get fined.
I'm just here so I don't get fined.
I'm just here so I don't get fined.
Marshawn Lynch, if y'all don't know who that is, man, go look him up. YouTube is a beautiful thing for that reason. That's my man right there, though.
I dropped in the chat support@blastmusic247.com. You can always email us there. Just say, hey, I want to be on the GlassHouse podcast, and we'll definitely set you up to come chill with us. Oh, Golden Axe.
Man, first of all, hold on.
Wow.
Golden Axe, that takes me back, but it doesn't take me back like Altered Beast.
Oh, yo, that was my game,
Altered Beast on Sega Genesis. We could talk a whole nother hour for that.
Oh, man.
Yeah,
Altered Beast was nuts.
Yeah,
I love that game.
Love that.
That was a crazy
I
game.
should have added that to the list.
And see, this is, and you know, Mr. Glass, this is what's beautiful right here. Talking about video games and reminiscing, that can bring all kind of races and cultures together without any beef. And that's where we should be, a place of unity. Yeah, see, even she loved it.
Okay. I like it.
Lena's getting cooler and cooler every time I talk to her.
I thought it was just her music. Now we got personality.
she got a whole bunch of cool points going on. All right.
Yes.
So look, guys, we got to wrap it up. We like to keep it small and tight, but you can always go back on YouTube and check it out. We are also on Twitch. So, hey, we are here to make the GlassHouse to be your house. So definitely check us out next week, Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 p.m. Central. D-Ray, you got anything to say before we roll out?
Hey man, this was great. You know, I'm happy to be here. I'm happy that the GlassHouse got off the ground. We
no
launched
doubt
that baby, and I'm glad that you decided to have me. And you know, whenever I'm free, I'd love to come back.
I appreciate you guys for coming out and you know, making this hour and some change that we spent here fun. The audience, you guys in the audience make it fun every time we do. These guys do Blast and we do Rats and everything like that. It's all about audience participation. And I think, especially with this podcast, I'm looking for you guys to talk to me about what you love about gaming.
GG.
Hey, that's dope, Damien. I like that, man. That's dope.
That's the perfect way to end the podcast. I love it.
Yes, sir.
Indeed. So, GG, holla at you.
Yo, this is Mr. Glass, and welcome to the GlassHouse.